Today in the battle arena, where we're going back 65 million years, traveling back to the past when dinosaurs roamed the world. And today, well, we got the Giganotosaurus, the biggest carnivore the world has ever seen, going up against the Mosasaurus, one of the biggest ocean predators ever. So who wins here? Well, let's get into it. But before we get into that, well, make sure you go subscribe to the channel. Only about 20% of y'all are subscribed, so make sure you go change that. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. Helps us out a ton, and plus, you get to see awesome videos every single day. And if you are subscribed, well, awesome. You're crushing it. You're killing it. Go ahead, keep on killing it. Now let's get into it. So the Giganotosaurus, or the giant southern lizard, lived down in Argentina during the late Cretaceous period. And this thing is massive. I actually took the title from the T-Rex for being the biggest predator to ever walk the face of the earth. It's 14 feet tall, 40 to 45 feet long, and it weighs in at a staggering 6 to 8 tons. Basically, it can kill a lot of its prey just by stepping on it. And a lot of its prey was actually massive sauropods, like as big as the Giganotosaurus. Their name literally means fear nothing, and the Giganotosaurus would try and hunt these things. Now, they couldn't do it on their own, although it could maybe get a baby or a young one, take one of them down. But instead, the going theory now is that the Giganotosaurus would actually hunt in groups. They would team up, and 6 of them, say, would take down a giant, massive adult sauropod. But whether they're taking down a baby or an adult, it's still insanely impressive. In the modern day, a Giganotosaurus was one of the dinosaurs cloned by Biosyn. It was kept within their valley in Italy. Of course, Biosyn also put the T-Rex in that same valley. 2 apex predators fighting over the same piece of land and the same resources. They had to know that was not going to end well. And of course, it didn't. The Giganotosaurus and Rexy encountered each other after Biosyn called all the dinosaurs into the research facility. And the two obviously had to fight. The Giganotosaurus held the upper hand at first. It actually knocked Rexy unconscious, so I had to take him out. But then a new challenger approached, the Therizinosaurus. And so then they had to fight. They had to duke it out. And that's when Rexy was able to wake up and they could double team the Giganotosaurus. Ended up taking it out of the fight. So yeah, it ultimately lost. But it was able to beat the T-Rex. And it could probably, most definitely, beat the Therizinosaurus too. It just couldn't beat them 2-on-1. But then there's the Mosasaurus. And man, how cool is the Mosasaurus? I mean, seriously, how cool is this thing? Especially when it just goes whomp, eats everything it comes across. I love it. I just love it. There was one Mosasaurus credited for Jurassic World. And trust me, one was plenty. And while they had most of her DNA intact, a little bit of saltwater crocodile and monitor lizard was thrown in there in order to cover up the missing pieces. Now, the funny thing is, we don't actually know how big this dinosaur is. Seriously, we don't. And that's kind of a pain in the butt for making a versus video breakdown. What we do know is that it spans from 50 feet to 120 feet, which is honestly a pretty large range. We also don't really know how much she weighs, but it's looking like somewhere between 30 to 50 tons. She's a chunky girl. And so just for fun, just to make it interesting, let's put the Mosasaurus on the bigger end here. Make this a fight really worth talking about. Now the Mosasaurus really knows how to hunt and how to eat. She's always on the lookout for her next meal, that next little tasty morsel. She'll swallow great whites whole, easily grab pterodactyls out of the water, eat whole submarines, and even grabbed the Indominus Rex. Like the I-Rex was terrifying, everything, that whole movie. Then Mosasaurus gets him with just one bite, not one F given. She doesn't care who you are, she doesn't care what you've done, she's just gonna eat you. The Mosasaurus also has a pretty nasty bite, clocking in at a stronger PSI than the T-Rex's. And she is like the perfect ambush predator, waiting patiently for just the right moment, and then wham, she'll strike. Now, the problem here with this fight is that you got a land animal going up against a sea animal. Makes it kind of difficult and kind of important where you actually stage the fight. Because if it was on land, well, then the Mosasaurus is just laying there, suffocating, it being crushed under its own body weight, while the Giganotosaurus just violently attacks it. If you put it in the water, well, then the Mosasaurus easily eats it. We don't even know if the Giganotosaurus can swim. So it's got to be on the border between land and water, where both can be in their element. And if that's the case, well, the Mosasaurus easily wins. There is essentially no real difference between the Giganotosaurus and the Indominus Rex, for this fight at least. And the Mosasaurus easily beat it. Easily. I think the exact same thing could, would, should happen here. The Mosasaurus wins.